people that write for NBC, if right, this NBC, yes, NBC, yes, the company that kind of had people following juror buses in the Rittenhouse case, that company says basically this is what it is. They believe that the state has right to your kids, which is why they advocate public schools for as much or as hard as they do. And anything that comes to threat with it, they roll out their academics and say you hate poor people or the world's going to be just a worse place because you got rid of the state's indoctrination camps. But more importantly, because of what's happening with this critical race theory stuff and everything that people are now paying attention to what's like going on in their curriculum, watch this shit. This person here over the NBC, this isn't her, I don't think. But this is Christina Wyman. Schools face parents who want to ban critical race theory and don't get how teaching works. An educator's top goal is to teach students to think. Oh, man. Who do these people think they're kidding, man? Who do they think they're kidding with this shit? That's the complete opposite of what these public schools do. The literal opposite. Teach students to think. Teach them what to think, yeah, not how. Parents who dictate curricula with their personal opinions, ideologies, and biases hinder that goal. Okay, that's literally what the public educators do. So this is what they're saying, right? We're going to read a little bit of it, but this is what this person is saying. It's okay for the teachers and the administrators and all of them to have that position, but for you as a parent, you can't. Parents and politicians across the country are interfering with curricula that public schools used to teach students. State legislators are passing laws to keep critical race theory out of schools. Literary classics like Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye are banned for sexual content, and school libraries are coming under attack for containing books about gender. Again, this is how they always word it. It's like some of these books have some real fucked up shit in them. There are even parents who are trying to shield students from learning about mental health and suicide, as though helping children build emotional fortitude is a bad thing. I would argue that public education system is what's hindering a lot of these youngsters' mental health issues, which is why you see all these youngsters right now being diagnosed with so many mental problems, and they have all sorts of mental issues. You got to look at the camp that they're all running through with the. While the political climate and national involvement to school districts give the phenomenon a broader platform and have more serious ramifications, this behavior is nothing new. Parents have always tried to interfere with curricula, as I observed when teaching middle school in the mid-2000s. Even then, there was no shortage of parental input about the content of my instruction, from books to test questions. Part of the problem is that parents think they have the right to control teaching and learning because their children are the ones being educated. But it actually doesn't work that way. It's sort of like entering a surgical unit thinking you can interfere with the operation simply because the patient is your child. No, first of all, that is such a shit analogy for multiple ways. Main way being before you have to do surgery or whatever it is that the medical procedures are going to do on your child, the parent has to sign off on that anyway. So what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? When I first pursued teaching nearly 2 decades ago, I was struck by the list of requirements I had to fulfill for the state of New Jersey to determine that I was qualified. I don't disagree with that. This is why public education should be abolished. And if you are worth a damn as a teacher, you'd have no problem finding some sort of homeschool, co-op, or private school to be teaching at. Several years of focused college instruction followed by intense mentorship at state level exams were the norm back then. I went to college to graduate school for even more intense study, eventually earned a PhD in curriculum instruction and teacher education, which again is a fake degree, nonetheless, because this is what academia is. It's a Ponzi scheme, right? These guys get jobs. It happens all the time. These guys get jobs in education, and the only thing that they could do, or get, not jobs, they get like degrees, and the only thing that they could do with those are generally teach other kids, be it specifically in college, that are attempting to obtain the same degree. It's no like real world application there. Even teachers who don't have doctors rarely stop their education at the college. Anyway, part of the reason for this prolonged instruction is to hone the expertise required to be an effective teacher. This involves becoming fluent not only in the content and issues informing a given subject, but also in how to teach. Anyone can walk in a classroom with an understanding of the content, but not everyone can succeed at teaching it. I don't disagree with that. That skill is precisely what higher education, intense mentorship, and stressful licensing requirements are designed to build and assess. Well, that doesn't mean that's what it's doing, right? Could it be a situation where they're kind of molding you to be an indoctrinator? Yes. But to act like you're doing something specifically special, or rather those avenues that you have to kind of travel through before you can be authorized to teach the state's curriculum, doesn't mean that that's what's happening. Which is why the ceaseless effort of parents and politicians to shape curriculum by targeting book selection, the type of history taught in the classroom, and specific terms used in classrooms should be ignored. These distractions are nothing more than theater, and school boards and administrators should be protecting their teachers and students from it rather than bowing to it. Currently, 36 states require teachers to have a master's degree to teach, and states typically require administrators and supervisors to earn advanced degrees. In addition to at least one license. Again, this is just talking about red tape. I can say with authority, that our nation's children are in good, educated, and capable hands. Oh, I trust you so much. Thank you for calming my nerves down, that based upon your authority that you have given and authorized yourself, the nation's children are in great hands by way of the public educators. I appreciate you for calming me and reassuring that they're in great hands with these public educators. Of course, as with any profession, there are sometimes incompetent practitioners or bad actors. I would argue that most of them are. I'll never forget the teacher who dreamed up a mock slave auction, blah, blah, blah. So she's mentioning that there are bad teachers. Such incidents deserve parental and community wrath and should be handled swiftly and aggressively. Parents should always raise concerns when they feel emotional harm results. Student-teacher interactions, and teachers and administrators have responsibility to listen to their concern. See, the problem is that she's conceding exactly that, but where she's differing, or rather deviating from, is that she's not akin to these other people who she admits is bad. She's one of the good ones. So it's okay for her not to listen to you as a parent, or you to not have input based upon what she does, because she has better intentions than the teacher with slave auction or some shit. But short of that, parents and community members and politicians who aren't qualified to teach should keep their noses out of school curricula. The future of our country and world are sitting in today's K through 12 classrooms, and those children will eventually become adults requiring their empathy, passion, intelligence, and engagement. Parental interference in school curricula is poised to accomplish the exact opposite. See, these people are smart enough. They're dumb, but they're smart enough to know that if they lose control of the education system that is known as public education, they become worthless. Okay? They become, which they are, I'd argue they already are. But the perceived authority that they have is no longer existent. And this is why the best thing, and I said this before, the best thing that you could do to help the future generations is take your kids out of these rotten public education systems. Yes, you can still bitch and moan all you want, or you should. about what's going on. Try to fight like hell to keep your tax money, whether it be property taxes or whatever, that's going to these rotten ass schools that your kids will no longer go to, so you can keep that money and invest even more so in your children's future. But I would encourage everybody that's watching this video to go look into alternative forms of teaching. And I would encourage you to not think of yourself and be so cocky that you think that you can offset as a parent who only spends maybe 30 minutes with your kid anyway throughout the week, if that, can offset the state's indoctrination that you drop them off 7 hours a day at whatever indoctrination camp 5 days a week. The educators know, and the future generations, especially the political ones, they know how important it is. And this is why they fight like hell to keep you out of that information and fight like hell to keep control of it and continue to have that legitimized in your eyes. Because the minute they don't have that anymore, they have lost the future generation and the current one. It's gone. A lot of these people who got all these fake degrees would be forced out on the streets and forced to get real jobs, because the only demand that exists is the ones that exist within the state. And because they're operating with tax money, not money that they have earned by way of the parents, just tax money that they can steal and it's rerouted to them, they don't have an incentive to actually be great at what it is they're doing. This is why you have all these fake degrees, curriculums, diversity hires, and diversity programs, and all of this fake administration, and all guys that, you hear their job title and you're like, what the fuck do you do? It's because they operate within that tax money, and they get money that they don't have to earn. So yes, you can be frivolous and inefficient with your spending when you don't have to earn it. You just get it brought to you because they're stealing from it or printing the money out of thin air, depending on who we're talking about. Get your kids the fuck out of public schools. The one thing I can appreciate about the recent conversation ain't that y'all going to scream at school boys. No, I can appreciate that people are starting to realize there's a fucking problem with this education system. And more importantly, realizing that it can't be reformed. It doesn't need to be reformed. Reform assumes there's something there worth molding up to try to salvage. No. It needs to be gotten completely rid of and eliminated. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.